everyone and welcome! I didn't think I would make another video about Kain so soon, but knowing we have about a week before we get the full story of Kain and Rust, I decided to gather up all the information we have about the race known as the Darkin. By summarizing everything we know, we can avoid confusion when debating what is even happening. So let's start with the basics. Ever since the universe update, it's been known that only 5 living Darkin remain. It doesn't specifically say they remain on Runeterra, but we can assume they are not an intergalactic species. The one Darkin we know a lot about is Aatrox. His title is the Darkin Blade, and remember that title because we will talk about it later. Aatrox is the Darkin of War, meaning different Darkin feed off of different essences. Aatrox feeds off the blood on the battlefield. Whenever he slices an enemy, his blade drinks in whatever it can. We know about 2 events in which Aatrox played his part. Because of his close connection to blood, he obviously wants to cause the greatest bloodshed possible. The one event more known to people is the Freljordian Barbarian War. In this war, Tryndamere led his small group of barbarians against an army of enemy tribe. During the battle, Tryndamere was mortally wounded by a mysterious figure which appeared out of nowhere. Of course, this figure was Aatrox. The wound enraged Tryndamere and gave him incredible strength. With this power, Tryndamere was able to slaughter the remaining warriors of the enemy tribe alone. We can assume that Aatrox returned after the job was done to collect all the blood. The other event from Aatrox's history happened hundreds of years before that. During the Rune Wars, there were 2 factions at war, known as the Protectorate and the Magelords. We know about these 2 factions because they represent the 2 sides of the Summoner's Rift. The Magelords were the dominant faction when it came to the final battle. The warriors of the Protectorate knew their chances of victory were slim. Just moments before their charge into the battle, Aatrox appeared among them and inspired them with a few words before charging forward as their leader. His presence alone inspired the warriors, and with their newly found power they slaughtered the Magelords. Aatrox mysteriously disappeared after the battle, but the warriors' fury did not. After their victory, they returned home as heroes. But as time went by, the fury fell and they realized their triumph was but a brutal atrocity committed by their own hands. During Aatrox's teaser before his release, Ezreal revealed some artifacts he found depicting the Darkin. We've got a stained glass from Demacia, a statue from Noxus, books from Piltover's Academy, urn from Shurima, Freljordian dagger, Ionian carved woodblock, and Twisted Fate's coins. From all these, we know that the Darkin were playing their roles all over Runeterra, or at least Aatrox was. That's all the basics we knew up until now, but with Kain's voiceover released, we know a lot more. We know that Kain is from Ionia and that he is a loyal follower of Zed in the Order of Shadows. And we know that Rust is the Darkin of Death. But when we get to Kain's weapon, it gets a bit tricky. It seems like the lore nerds of the internet divided into 2 groups. Those who believe the Darkin are not the figures but they are the weapons, and those who believe the Darkin make more Darkin through their weapons. I don't necessarily think either theory is 100% right, but let's look at the reasons why people think that. The theory that Aatrox and Rust are in fact the weapons have some solid points. For one, Aatrox's title suddenly makes sense, and Kain calls Aatrox and Rust blades.
You and Rust, the failed blades.
The main point is the fact that Rust literally consumes Kain through the scythe, and the figure we call Aatrox is holding a living blade which moves on its own. Kain in Darkin form and Aatrox are very similar, and yet there is one difference. In Aatrox's lore it says that he moves together with his blade in unison, as if they were one being. While that may be true for Kain too, when he gets consumed by Rust, the eye that was on his blade remains there even after the transformation. This means that while Kain became corrupted by Rust, Rust is still inside the blade. Only in his Shadow Assassin form is Rust destroyed and the eye truly disappears. As a side note, I would love to point out the beautiful choice of art for this eye. It is wary at the start of the game and you either choose to open it or close it to choose your form. So, there is one more thing we need to talk about. There are 5 living Darkin somewhere in the world. We know about 2, Aatrox and Rast, so where are the other 3? Well, luckily Rast confirmed the 3rd Darkin, or at least the person corrupted by him, Varus. Rast has a quote in which he talks to Varus as if he was one of them. Notice that at first he mentions 3, and then he corrects himself to 5 Darkin.
There is the 3 of us, 5 of us. Well, together we will lay waste to this realm.
This is likely because he is aware that the 2 last Darkin are hiding and he doesn't want to reveal them. But he also mentions that he is not sure, so maybe he actually doesn't know about the other Darkin at all.
And then there were 4, I think.
But things get complicated even more when you look at the other quotes aimed at Varus. It seems like Rast is mocking him with the name Demon Pants. Also notice that Kain doesn't say a single word, so he doesn't know.
Demon Pants had it coming.
My explanation is that Varus himself is of no interest to Rast. It is the corruption and most likely the corrupted bow which indicates that he was touched by a Darkin, and Rast knows. Unless Varus gets a lore update too. In his story we learn that the corruption that touched him was sealed in a well. And my immediate reaction was that all the other Darkin were bound to physical objects. So this well of dark power must be something else. So at this point I have no idea how can Varus be connected to the Darkin, or possibly what the well even is if it is connected to the Darkin. There is one more champion we have to mention when it comes to Aatrox. If you remember, more than a year ago, a Darkin appeared in Jax's art. Now, it was removed from everywhere apart from his game info page, meaning it is most likely not part of the story. And even if it was, maybe it was just Aatrox and he empowered Jax just like he empowered Tryndamere. So it doesn't confirm the 4th Darkin. The reason why I am confident saying we should ignore it for now is because how outdated the page is. If you scroll down, you can learn about the fields of justice. So, what can we expect in the near future? Definitely a bio and a short story for Kain. New short story for Aatrox and maybe an updated bio too. We could also get an update for Varus and possibly for Zed too. Outside of these it is all just guessing. Shen probably won't be touched, but we could get some info on Akali. Apparently she was one of Zed's students too. And the last one with a tiny chance of an update is Syndra, since she is somewhat connected to the Order of Shadows too. All in all, it seems like the Darkin are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Only the Darkin are 5 and they don't have horses. But we know they all have one goal: to shred this world to pieces through conflicts. But that's it for this video. This is pretty much all the canon information we have right now, and it should be enough to prepare you for whatever stories will arrive. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to rate it as you want and possibly subscribe for more lore. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Discord if you'd like to chat, and there is also my Instagram purely for the pictures of coffee. Special thanks to all our Patreons for going the extra mile, and to the rest of you, thank you so much for being here and for your support. You know I really appreciate it. And as always, thank you, come again.